All right.
All right. Well, welcome today to our Facebook Live. We have with us Miss Delia Campbell. Delia was born in Savannah, Georgia, but she was raised in Columbia, South Carolina, and that's where she has lived. She comes from a background of 20 plus years of excellent customer service. She has 5 years in the mortgage industry and 10 years in healthcare. So she brings strong negotiation skills to bear when her working with her real estate clients. Delia attended Benedict College and she earned a bachelor's in finance. She also earned an associate's degree from Midlands Technical College in physical therapy assistant. Her skills in finance and as a physical therapy assistant gives her a unique insight into how to negotiate, prepare clients for seamless transaction, and strongly advocate on her client's behalf. She entered the real estate world in order to help people build wealth, and she has not looked back since that time. As I said previously, she still lives in Columbia, South Carolina, where she spends her free time reading, traveling, volunteering at church, and delivering speeches at Toastmasters meetings and contests. So thank you and welcome, Delia, today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So Delia, I've known Delia for some years, and I met her when she was working actually in the mortgage industry. And so we've been great friends ever since that time. And when she became a realtor, I thought it would be excellent to speak with her since she has the background in lending. She has a background in working and caring for patients, so she understands customer service. And now with the background in real estate, for her to talk to our Facebook group about real estate. And I wanted to start out by asking her, what made you decide to go into the field of real estate?
There's just something about seeing your clients' goals being met, whether it's to sell or whether it's their first purchase or even their second purchase. Just getting that rush from them receiving those keys or receiving that check after their sale. It's really, really a joyful opportunity to see. And of course, the opportunity to be able to educate those about the different ways that they can use real estate as well.
So let's kind of dive in. Our Facebook group is a group of women who could be going through some very emotional times in their life. They could be going through divorce, separation, some of them through custody battles. And as I know you've seen in the field quite often, there are times when, there are couples who've gotten together and purchased real estate and they were not married. So people do those kinds of things. So why don't we talk about some common mistakes that we think women might make when they're trying to sell a home during a divorce or a separation?
Yes. So I would say some of the common mistakes would be not hiring the right agent, because the right agent is not going to be biased. So you want what's going to look out for the best interest of the home. Okay. I know you thought I was going to say for you or who reached out to them first, but really the ultimate goal is to make sure that the home is marketed well, the home is presented well, and of course the transaction is handled as quickly as possible. So that would definitely be the number one mistake.
Okay. And what are some of the ways that a woman can help or a realtor help a woman prepare the home for a proper sale to get that most amount of money?
Yes. You want to know if anything is going on with the house. I typically recommend a pre-home inspection. You want to get that way you're not surprised when a person goes to purchase your home and then they see there's some water settling under the home, if you have a crawl space or you have a cracked foundation, you to be ahead of the game when it comes to that. I would also add another way to prepare your home is to actually gather receipts of some of the improvements that you've made. And then I'll give you really one more. If you actually gather maybe some warranty booklets of anything that you're planning to leave in the home, that also lets the buyers know that you're organized and you care for the home. And you know what, I said I was only going to give you one more, but I'll also throw in something. You want to make sure the home is clean and organized. So you want to declutter, make sure you can see the floor, closet, and remove all your personal items, that you don't want anybody to kind of, focus on while they're touring your home.
And how do doing these things help attract potential buyers, possibly uh, get the best price? And how do we know that, we have a realtor or an agent who is actually negotiating the best price for the home?
Yes. So, as to your question about negotiating for the first price, I'm sorry, for the best price, the thing is this: I commonly people who are really heavily focused on the commission fee. And
Mhm.
a lot of times, if a person is willing to discount their negotiation, I'm sorry, or discount their fee, which is basically what earns them business and what helps their business grow, then I want everyone to realize that they're typically not going to work as hard for you to walk away with the most money. And an example is, a lot of times when you're selling the home, say there are some issues found in the home. Although
Mhm.
there are issues, it takes those negotiation skills for your seller, your listing agent, to say, well, you know what? The home may have, a couple of trees that need to be, trimmed. But do you really want the home? Do you really want to, upset my seller? They're not going to allow the buyer to control the transaction and try to talk the seller down into giving up their money. Because at the end of the day, of course, the buyer they may want that buyer to pay for all of the repairs. They may
Mhm.
want the buyer for closing costs. And so it's up to that listing agent to make sure that it's not only being marketed well, as we mentioned, but we're also making sure that you keep as much money as possible in your pocket. And if you could remind me of the other questions, I'll answer those.
Yeah, it's fine. I think you kind of answered the group of questions together in your actual answer. But I did want to,
Okay.
you mentioned some terms, and I think educating, our platform and the women in the groups. What is a listing agent? What is a buyer's agent? And what is a seller's agent? And how do they all work together?
Okay. So your listing agent is the person who represents the seller, and they're the person who puts your home on the market and make it available throughout hundreds of different websites throughout the country, and sometimes the world. That is the person who's over that particular task, and they're representing you, as I stated, as the seller. Now, your buyer's agent, and I don't want to sound confusing, but they can also be known as the selling agent. But we're going to just go ahead and call them the buyer's agent. Can be used interchangeably as a selling agent. So the buyer's agent represents the buyer, and their
Mhm.
job is to make sure that even if you're on the buyer side, once you purchase your next home, If you decide to keep the current home, then you would need a buyer's agent. So the buyer's agent is also responsible for negotiating on your behalf, making sure on the flip side that you put out less money. Okay. So as we spoke about earlier with the selling agent, the seller agent or that listing agent, their job as the buyer's agent is to fight for you and say, no, that tree needs to be trimmed or we're walking away, or the person needs to pay for it, just for example. And that's a very minimal example, but that's just an example. And of course, there are a long list of other the buyer's agent has. And
Okay.
so when it comes to the sellers, I said seller's agent is the same thing as a listing agent. And then again, your selling agent is the same thing as a buyer's agent.
Okay. So what should a woman look for when she's looking for someone to represent her in, the buying or selling of a home? Are there certain questions she should ask? Um, is there a place she should be researching about this realtor or agent? What tips do you have there?
Yes, I would not try to get too technical immediately. However, the best way to know is get a personal referral, because that person who has actually done business with the person will know firsthand what to expect. And a lot of times they will tell you, a lot of times from start to finish, how they felt throughout the process and how that realtor communicated. So let's say, for instance, you don't know any realtors. Then, of course, you do want an agent who communicates well. So a lot of times you will know by your first call. I would say if you call that agent and the agent doesn't, they may not answer your phone call right away, because we're usually always, either in meetings or heading to a meeting or getting, but if they do not call you back within, say, that same day, a lot of times it could be a red flag. But I would give them 24 hours to call back, especially you leave a message. And then it is important that the agent is just very open and asking you the necessary questions about your needs. So that leads me to the point that you want a realtor who listens. They're not trying to push you into anything. They're listening and they're considering exactly what your needs are, and they're showing you what you're asking for. And then you want someone you feel is loyal to you, and a lot of times people are confused about that loyalty that's needed, and that's actually one of the oaths that we give our customers and clients. We want to be, well, our clients, but and we basically, when we say loyal to you, we mean that we're not putting everyone else before you. We're not going to tell you to hold on, to see this home because I have to, I'm really busy right now. I have to get my hair done. I plan to, visit my girlfriend's weekend, things of that nature. They're going to be loyal to your business. And of course, they're going to put your needs first. So I would just stop right there. There's a long list of things to look for, but you just want someone who you feel is looking out for your best interests and will communicate with you well.
Thank you for that answer. You touched on a couple of things that I want to just kind of talk about a little bit more. Being an attorney who deals with women going through a divorce, they have an emotional attachment to a home, and it's hard sometimes, or difficult in trying to get them to deal with those emotions, especially if they may end up having to let the home go onto the market. How can a realtor, or how have you, as a realtor who's working with a divorcee, a woman who needs to navigate those emotions in selling the home. How do you handle that aspect of the job?
Yes, absolutely. I would focus on, your goal, and to just remind you that, there is so much more. And especially if you already have a family, you could create new memories in that new home. And then current home would represent a chapter in your life that is closed. So these are some of the, the things that I would really emphasize, because it is difficult. Going to be emotional. Sometimes things can, get ugly, but remember, the realtor is here for the home, not there to pick sides, not there to, really make anyone feel superior or inferior over the other. They're there to make sure that the process is handled with respect and care.
And in doing so, do you speak with women often about, sometimes they walk into a home and it's the most grandiose thing, but may not fit their budget? Or, do you talk to them not about their goals and how they're truly setting those goals and looking at their actual needs versus their wants and their budgets? Do realtors really get down into that nitty gritty of the process?
Well, not necessarily, because when you receive your pre-approval letters from your lenders, they give you basically, or give that realtor the maximum price that you can go up to. So a lot of times we're not really allowed. Well, I can't say we're not allowed, but it would just be in your best interest, and it would maximize both of your times if you were to stay within, the confines of what you can afford. Now, I will say there were times, because I'm not on the mortgage side, there were times where a, an approval letter was based off of what the customer told the lender. They told
Mhm.
them that they wanted to stick around a certain, price range, and therefore the approval was based off of that. So if I notice that you are interested in a higher price range, then I would encourage you to go back to your lender and just ask, hey, what can I do to, go up another $50,000? And a lot of times those lenders are more than happy to let you know different ways to make those things possible. And usually it's something as simple as paying down a debt or paying off a debt. And a lot of times that'll get you that boost that you need.
So, do you have
Mhm.
certain partners that you may refer your clientele to, as far as lenders and things of that sort?
Absolutely, absolutely. As a extension of my services, I absolutely am able to connect folks with really not just lenders, but people like you, Ms. Bowen. Yeah, I am able to, just connect them with everyone I'm connected with. But yes, if a person does not have their own lender, I always emphasize that you can go with anyone that you want to go with. However, I have probably about three or four that I've built a rapport with. I know how they work. I know how they communicate. And sometimes I mention certain ones over the others because I think their personality may match a little better with certain
Okay.
people, because I do more soft spoken ones, and then then I have some stronger lenders. And so depending on your personality, you know, I may offer you, one person, particular person over the other. And then also some of my lenders that I like working with, to open you up to more opportunities than a few others out there. And what I mean by that is, like, if you think about a bank may only offer you more conservative loans that require you to have, 700 plus score. And then I may have a mortgage broker who basically may have some products out there that's a little more creative. And they, a little more flexibility with the amount of money you need in the bank, or how much job history you may need. And even, with those lower. So I got to keep a few options out there for my clients that have various needs.
So I'm going to come back to some other resources, but I did want to ask you your thoughts on this. How can you help, women understand the current real estate market so that they are making informed decisions? You see lately, everybody, the housing market kind of increased. It became a seller's market. You may have people who just don't understand that. And then as the temperature starts to cool down a little bit, you have, well, my neighbor sold their house for this amount, and they may not understand currently the real estate market may be changing or in transition. So how do you take the time to educate your buyers or sellers that way?
Yes. So first, I would like to talk to the sellers. So if you're a seller, you want to know that the homes that were selling August of 2022, the interest rates at that time were in the fours. And then somewhere around September, those interest rates jumped all the way to 6%. So it kind of shocked the market a bit. And therefore, homes weren't selling as quickly, and they weren't appreciating as quickly as well. So today, we now are in a higher interest rate, which is probably in the mid sixes, sometimes a lower. However, that is not a bad interest rate. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox about interest rates, but I will say that is something to consider when you are talking to your neighbor, or when you saw that neighbor whose home went on the market and it sold 20,000 asking price. That I'm not seeing happening anymore. Not so much. If it go above asking, it's more like $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay.
But it's not as aggressive as it was. For my buyers, what I want you to realize is that we are still seeing multiple offers on homes that are move-in ready, and homes that are in that, maybe under 350,000. If the home is move-in ready and you are qualified for that price range, I want you to be prepared to be in a multiple offer situation, and to not have your contract accepted. So that is something to absolutely keep in mind. So therefore, I prepare you to not fall in love with the house that you make an offer on, but just, keep your emotions under wraps until you get that approved, that accepted contract, because that's when you can start to let those emotions take over. And I'm telling you, some people believe that it has to do realtor, and they get upset after, one contract isn't accepted. And I must say, you really have to set your mind and to basically say, okay, you know what, I may have to write 5 contracts before one is accepted. And I will say one last thing. I really, just to gauge your seriousness in making offers, and how you want, or how bad you're wanting to purchase a home, I'll ask you, give me a scale between, 1 to 10, as far as, how you feel about to make those multiple offers, and how ready you are to possibly have, 3 or 4 offers rejected. And, we're going to talk about that, because if you're kind of, not really prepared to receive so many rejections, we might want to hold off, because you definitely have to prepare yourself for the rejections. And I'll stop right there.
Well, it sounds like there could be a whole lot more to talk about on that end. But I did want to go back to resources. Now, I know you're located in South Carolina, and sometimes there are like down payment assistant programs and those types of things. Is it a realtor's job to be familiar with those? And do you inform, women who are going through this process about those assistance programs?
Yes, I believe it is great to have a realtor who knows about those programs. However, I wouldn't really hold it against them if they don't know about every single program. Because I will say a lot of programs that have a down payment assistant, a lot of times they sometimes have some very strict criterias, and they may have higher interest rates. So it's really just, it's good to have the conversation if you're not already approved when you approach your realtor, but just have an open conversation as to what your needs are. Do you need more more help with getting your payment down, or through lower interest rate, or with the down payment help? And another thing I would say about down payment assistance programs, sometimes require that you live in the home for a certain amount of time before that gift is forgiven. And that's not always a bad thing. It just means that if you go to sell your home, you would just have to, give that company back, a portion of the money based off of how long you had if you were to sell before the time was up. So to answer the question again and to summarize, yes, it's always good to have a agent or realtor who is familiar with the different types of assistance programs that are out there.
Okay. Now let's talk about contract negotiations. What tips and tricks can you tell these women about that, they may need to think about if they're going to either buy or sell a home?
Absolutely. So for buyers, you want to make your offer as attractive as possible. I will say that the room for negotiation market is null and void. So you want to really present with the highest offer. Present your highest and best offer initially, because sometimes you may have a second chance, like I mentioned earlier. Sometimes I'm noticing that I'm getting just rejections. I'm not receiving an opportunity or even told that there are other buyers interested in that home. So you want to present your highest and best offer. The next thing a buyer should know is earnest money. Earnest money is basically, it's kind of like a money that you decide and you offer the seller to gauge your seriousness and how much you want the home. So the higher amount of earnest money that you are willing to put forth, it represents how serious you are again. And just to clarify also what earnest money is, it's technically money that you're willing to give that buyer if you were to, I'm sorry, that seller, if you were to back off from the offer. And but I will say this, there is a typical time frame that you would basically have to that would keep you from having to turn that earnest money over to the seller. So you want to offer your highest and best offer. You want to also offer a high amount of earnest money. And then another thing, there's probably a few other things you can do, but I'll give you one more. Another is decreasing your due diligence period. Typically, the standard is 10 days of due diligence, and you could reduce that due diligence period to 5 days. And it basically means that instead of Mr. Seller giving me 10 days to research and do inspections, you know what? I'm going to do all the research and investigate this home for 5 days, and I'll be able to give you a solid decision as to whether or not, I'm going to go forward with this deal and move it on to closing. And the other secrets, I'm going to just leave for my clients.
So on that note, that means if you all need a realtor in the state of South Carolina, you got to reach out to Miss Delia. So Delia, tell them how they can reach you and where they can find more information about you.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And I'm telling you, I could talk for hours about different things, but as a buyer or a seller, it's not necessarily your job to know my job. You just make sure the person you hire knows their job and treats you with respect and like you're the only that they have. You want to feel like you're the only client they have. Now, if you want to reach me, you can find me on Instagram at DJARE Sales, and that's DJARE Sales. And then my email address is simply sold by I'm sorry, let me back up. I'm going to give you my email address, djarasales@gmail.com. And then my website, you can find me at Simply Sold by Delia at KW. I'm sorry, not at KW.com. I'll say that again. Simply Sold by Delia, and my name is spelled there, .kw.com. And I am with Keller Williams Preferred in Northeast Columbia.
Well, thank you so much, Delia. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Certainly, I've learned some things, and hopefully the women in our groups have learned some things and learned a little bit more about you as a trusted partner here for them. And I want to encourage them to reach out to you in the group if they have any concerns or questions. They can likewise post even after we finish the broadcast. They'll be able to post. Delia will be able to see those. She is in the group and answer any questions directly for you to reach out to. And just thank you so much, Delia, for taking the time to be with us today.
You are very welcome. And I just remember I didn't give you my phone number. Oh my gosh. It's 803-477-667. And yes, time if you have any questions. Thank you again, Miss Bowen.
Take care, Delia. It was good seeing you.
You too.